Hello. Many people believe that their life is a result of isolated incidences, isolated events that took place, things that simply happened to them. They responded to them in a way that felt they had no choice to do. But that's not actually how life is built. What you're living right now truly is the result of a series of choices you've made over the course of your lifetime, many of them quiet, repeated, many of them, and some of them are made with a great deal of awareness, while others are made with none. When you think about it, we don't necessarily have a lot of impact about what comes into our life. Yet, at the same time, we do have a great deal of ability to bring things in or to not let them into our lives. So it really depends on so many factors. The house can go up in flames and there's nothing we did. There's no cause that we did. We didn't leave something on. There wasn't something we weren't tending to, and it happens. How we react or respond to that is absolutely our choice. It will certainly be a sad situation, but it can be a crisis or something that forces us to start fresh. Everything then, how do you look at that? At the same time, there's also the fact that we frequently walk into circumstances that 10 minutes in we know doesn't feel right. And rather than leaving, we choose to stay. Or we turn down something that we later find out it would have been really good if we went with it. And yet when it shows up again, we still don't go with it. And so really those are choices we make. And so many people think of these as isolated events, but really what you're living right now is a result of those choices to step in or step out, those choices to go forward or not. And it's amazing how we are confronted with them daily, absolutely daily, down to the smallest thing of what we have for breakfast. We pick something we know we shouldn't be eating. We don't feel good afterwards, and yet we have it anyway because it tastes good. And we pay the price. Over 50, especially, we pay the price. You know, when you step back a moment without judgment, without fear, without responsibility and burden, just take a step back and take a look at your life, and look at the moment you're in did not arrive by chance. The moment you're in, wherever you are at this moment and watching this, you're here because you chose to be sitting in this seat or standing in this place. It was shaped by what you said yes to yesterday and the day before, but also by what you avoided. Think about that. It was shaped by what you said yes to yesterday and the day before that, and also by what you avoided. Some of the things you avoided were phenomenal. So glad you did. Other things we avoided could have impacted our lives differently, not better or worse, just differently. But what we believed was possible also impacted what we decided upon. And there are things we decided were impossible that if we had stuck with it would have been. This isn't about regret. This isn't about blame. This is just about acknowledging where we are today is a byproduct of all the choices we've made over the course of our lives. Just recognizing that and letting go of the stress, letting go of, I am not talking about responsibility or burden. Don't take that on. It's too easy for us to take on responsibility and burden for our lives. It's not meant to be that heavy. Deep, yes, I can be very deep, but heavy is something completely different. Don't waste your time in heavy. It's exhausting and it doesn't get you anywhere. This isn't about blame. It's not about fault. It's only about recognizing the power of choice. Truly, it's about the power of choice. When we see that our current reality was shaped by earlier decisions we made, oftentimes made under stress, something important shifts. The future stops being abstract, and our ability to impact it, our ability to create it returns, because we can see that we have the ability to make decisions consciously without stress. Certainly here in America, There's so much stress right now that many of our decisions are made under stress, whether it's stress from the office, stress from our personal lives, stress from within ourselves that we haven't dealt with yet. We live in existential stress. It certainly doesn't impact your spiritual health positively. It doesn't impact your emotional health positively, and it certainly doesn't impact your physiological health. And it really impacts our financial health as well. So take a look at what can we begin to do in our lives to start letting go of all the stress we've accepted as a natural or normal part of life. What if it isn't a natural or normal part of life? What if stress is just something we've learned to live with because we're told it is a part of life? Our leadership isn't really about controlling the outcomes. It's about taking responsibility for where we're going. We can't control all the outcomes. We can look at where we want to go. We can look at what we need to do to get there. We can be in control, if you will, of how we get there. But boy, oh boy, do so many other factors come into life that change and redirect. We've been around long enough to recognize that we're not fully in control of where everything goes, no matter how much we focus, no matter how much dedication we put into it. We pray, we look, we do our best, and we deal with whatever little shifts and however the wind takes things. That's the gift. To me, that's an adventure. When you see life as an adventure and not a burden, you begin to recognize that in this adventure of the thing called life, so much comes in that we adapt to. We have to be flexible and open to. When we move into the rigidity, we make it far more difficult than it needs to be. Also the awareness that every decision is multi-layered. Some consequences are obvious, good or bad. They're obvious immediately. Others arrive quietly and later as byproducts we never consciously chose. Things as simple as I know I've gone to an event that I just thought the music sounded wonderful or this event sounded intriguing and ended up meeting somebody there that was absolutely fascinating, that brought so much joy, so much knowledge about that event to me, that really made it far greater than I could have imagined. What a gift. But being open to that allows you to have experiences you hadn't anticipated. Being open to that allows you to see adventures you didn't even know were possible for you. Years ago, when my youngest left for Cornell University, I dropped him off and drove home. And when I pulled into my home afterwards, like a good Irish girl, I poured a large glass of red wine and sat down and looked at my life. I had been a kid from an orphanage, from the projects. And I had created 3 companies. I had so many dozens of positions underneath me within my organization, 1099s as well as full-time employees, and realized that as successful as I wasn't happy. And at that moment in time, decided I needed to do something. My house was going to be empty. No more teenagers running up the stairs. No more soccer teams coming in for dinner after practice. No more kids going upstairs knowing how stupid I was. It was just going to be me. And that big house felt like an empty, dark tomb. And I needed to make a change. So what I chose to do was leave the country. I moved to the Caribbean for 10 years on the little island of Anguilla. And at some point in time, 10 years later, there was an opportunity, massive amounts of opportunities that opened up to me, that somebody here, a former student of mine, reached out. She was a physician, ahead of some major departments in a hospital, reached out and asked me to come back to America. I chose to come back because the adventure was going to be amazing. I was going to take my work in integrated health across the country. I was going to be co-chair of the advisory board of a multi-million-dollar grant. And that's what I was looking at, was all the adventures, all the opportunities, even though I had never planned on coming back to America, all the opportunities that were going to show up. And I was so excited to think my work was going to go across this country. NIH was giving me grant funding to research my work. That's what I chose to come back to. What I realized today, as we're waiting and expecting 18 inches of snow here in New England, I wasn't choosing snowstorms. I wasn't choosing to dig my car out or to have my driveway plowed. Didn't think about it. Unconscious consequences of choices I made. And I can play a victim to the cold. I can play a victim to the snow. I can be angry at the snow, angry at the fact that now, yet again, somebody may or may not show up quickly to shovel my driveway out, and I may have to do some of it myself. Or I can simply laugh and say, this wasn't part of the plan, but here it is. And whatever happens, I will deal with it. It's part of the bigger picture, it's part of what happens. So notice, yeah, it's a consequence of a choice I made. All of this is a consequence of a choice I made. Looking out over this computer, looking at the beauty of the snow, realizing it's got to be removed before I know it. It's got to be removed if I'm going to go anywhere. It's got to be removed before it turns into sheer ice. Just a consequence. Not good, not bad, no blame, no anger, just a choice. And when we realize that, there's so many things in our life, so many things. These are all realities that come with the decisions we make. It's an opportunity. I had the opportunity to teach, to lead, to bring my work across the country, to become a clinical instructor at a medical school. When I had been refused entry into a nursing school because I went to an unaccredited inner city high school. And now I was being offered the opportunity to be a clinical instructor at a medical school. There are so many wonderful elements to every choice we make. And if we're going to accept the wonderful elements, we need to accept those that aren't so wonderful, those that we could do without. The snow and cold, 15 below zero wind chill, I could do without. And yet just laugh and say, thank you, Lord, thank you, universe, for the ability to be in a warm home, talking on a computer about it. Not everything follows our choice is chosen. Not everything that follows a choice is there, but it's there and it's connected. And to say it's a result of the choices I made, okay. Think about that without blame, without judgment. What in your life is the result of choices you made? What in your life is the consequence of some of the things that show up? And recognize without blame or judgment on you or anybody else, they did it to me. They made this happen. Let that go. Look at the choices you made. Look at the things that have happened and recognize that when you begin to see your life as really authored rather than inherited, something changes. You stop waiting for permission to do your life. You stop waiting and assuming that things will change on their own. And you really become available for very different conversation with yourself and with the world. When you recognize all of that, the question becomes, am I free to make any decision I want? And the fact is we are. But am I willing to live with both the expected and the unexpected consequences? Because there will be both. There always is both. No matter what the choice, there are expected and unexpected consequences. And is the change that I'm looking forward to, is the change I'm about to make necessary? Is it valuable? Is it freeing? And is it worth it? Knowing that I don't necessarily know all the consequences, is it worth it to me to take that risk? Because my life will be the result of the choices I make, as it has been every choice I've made for the last many years I've been here. Every choice I make today or tomorrow will be a choice I'm freely making. And the consequences of that, I chose, consciously or unconsciously, knowingly or unknowingly. I chose the consequences of all of this. You know, it's life. It truly is life. Will I lose my electricity for a day, for 2 days, for 2 hours, for a few minutes? Not lose it? I'll wait and see. But whatever happens, there's not blame because I moved back to America. I left a warm Caribbean island and moved here. There's no blame. There's no judgment. It's just the part of the journey that's a result of the choices I made. So really, this is an invitation for you to look more clearly, to recognize that your life is not something that's happening to you. It's a continuously evolving process that is a result of the choices you've made. You know, it's once you recognize that, the sense of freedom, the sense of power in decision making, you stop waiting to look at who you're going to blame. You stop waiting to look at the burdens that are going to come into your life. And you start recognizing that whatever shows up, I've got the power to make a decision about. Whatever shows up, I've got the power to thoroughly enjoy as an adventure for growth, as an adventure for freedom, as an adventure to jump into life and to recognize that whatever on earth happens next, it's going to happen because of whatever choices I make next. My wish for you is all the choices bring a sense of adventure to your life, bring a sense of passion and aliveness. And again, a sense of truly living your life and not surviving it. But know that everything in this journey right now is a result of the choice you made, a choice you brought in. Whatever that is, a big choice, such as leaving, moving out of the country, big choice of moving back to this country, but smaller choices of what we have for breakfast, what we don't have for breakfast. How do I get to work today? Because for most of us, we have 2 or 3 ways that we could get there, and yet we have a habit. Is this habit one I want to perpetuate, or do I want to make some changes? Do I want to try new routes to get to work? Do I want to try a new way of doing something? It's your choice. Step out of habit, step out of conditioning, and recognize you are free to create whatever patterns you want. You are free to create new habits if you want. You are free to do your relationships, to do your leadership, to do your life in all new ways. Consciously choose recognizing you are the leader of your life, and that whatever comes tomorrow or the day after that or the year after that will be a byproduct of the choices you make today. Have a great one.